Okay, we are live. So for those listening at home, welcome to the Live from the Sword Coast podcast. My name is Kevin Madison, and this is day 26, I believe, 26 in the RPG A Day event for 2017. If this is your first video that you're watching in this series, this is a series of videos where I'm answering a different question every day in the month of August 2017 to deal with role-playing games. So today's question is... which RPG provides the most useful resources? Okay, so I was thinking about this the last day or so, and trying to think of something, so not just giving the same answer for the same game that I've been talking about a lot this month, which is Dungeons & Dragons 4th edition. But to be honest, I'm having a hard time coming up with other games. I do have one other game in mind, and maybe I'll start with that one before I talk more about 4th edition D&D. So the game I'm thinking of is actually Pathfinder. And however one might feel about how Pathfinder plays or the design aesthetic or whatever else, one of the very, very cool things about Pathfinder is that because the game was released under the open game license, it effectively anyone else can take the materials and republish them. Or add things to them or make use of aspects of them. So I think with that in mind, Pathfinder, or I'm sorry, the publishers of the Pathfinder role-playing game, Paizo decided to publish all the rules on their website. So there is a source you can go to on the Paizo website where it has basically all the setting-based information. So all of their hardbacks, all their monster books, it's all on there and searchable and by categories and whatever. So for people who are playing or running the game, who don't want to have to lug around a bunch of heavy hardbacks, that's a really great resource. Plus, if you're in a place where it's more convenient to work from a computer, you don't have all your gaming books with you, it's terrific because you can hop on and get access to any information you want. I think I found in the past when I've run Pathfinder, it's also been really helpful for snagging certain rules that you're going to use. So for instance, if you're using like overland travel rules, or you're using swimming, rules, or things that just don't come up in play that often, it's actually really nice to be able to cut and paste just the text from that and have that on a handout ready to go, so that your players understand, or either your players or you can use it as a resource for it. So in terms of resources that's offered by a publisher, that's really, really great. I think it probably makes it easy to reskin monsters then too. That's something I love doing because you've got the full block text. Excuse me. I'm so sorry. That is extremely rude. There is... so it's so easy to just cut and paste that material, and then you can reskin it however you choose. So I like that a lot. I mean, it's making the data, I guess, from the game in a format that's easily reformatted or easily tweaked is pretty darn helpful. Another RPG, again, that it's a defunct RPG, but it's one that I really love, that did have phenomenal resources, was Dungeons & Dragons 4th edition. At the time when the game was in print, if you signed up for what was called the D&D Insider, which is like a monthly subscription service, you gained access. Not only did you get the digital versions of Dungeon and Dragon magazine every month, excuse me, you also got... I'm sorry, I played up late playing D&D last night, so I'm a little sleepy today. The resources they had were a character generator and a monster tool, which allowed you basically, so at the time that the game went out of print, the monster tool had every monster that was in print for that game in primary sources. I'm not sure about like secondary. Well, I'm not sure. I know it wasn't for secondary sources, but you could search that by, monster type, by level, by whatever you really wanted, by monster, like the role they played in combat too. If they were a artillery or whatever. You also had you could print out the format from those monsters in the same sort of block of text that they would print as in the actual source books. But you could also print them in regular text format. So if you wanted to put it in something different, you could do that as well. It was also insanely easy to reskin stuff or to scale up or scale down monsters using that tool. And it's still in the system itself. It's still quite easy to do that. It's just that you'd have to do it by hand now rather than having the handy tool to work from. And what I mean by that is, like, let's say I'm running a third level adventure and I decide I want to use a 9th level solo monster like a beholder, one of the entry level beholders from I think a beholder is 7th level. Hold on, I got my handy thing. I'm not sure that really matters right now. 9th level solo artillery. Sweet. Okay, so let's say I got myself 3rd level characters, but I want to use a beholder, and I don't want to, I don't want it to be something that's going to kill them. I want it to be an adequate challenge. So maybe I'm going to dial that down to 5th level. Well, in the monster builder, I would just hit 4 times. It would plunk it down to the appropriate level, and it would recalculate all the defenses, all the hit points, all the damage of every one of its abilities, and the saving throws. Sorry, there wasn't saving throws in 4th edition, at least not like contested ones like that. So that was pretty great. Like, you're still, excuse me, you still had to be mindful of certain things because there, certain types of abilities may just be far too powerful for certain players. But I mean, it was incredibly easy to redo things. So, the very, very rare time when you needed something on a moment's notice, you could do that. But really what it made was it was very much easier in the planning stage because effectively no monster was off the table when you were designing it, your encounters and stuff like that. So that was terrific. I absolutely love that. So with the combination, and I guess the character generator too, 4th edition featured, you got a lot of feats over the course of your character's advancement. You also picked new powers every level as well too. And the amazing thing about the character builder is it tracked all of that stuff. It had everything. So it also took into account, you could have it take into account the requirements for certain of those things, or you could ignore them. It also had all the magic items as well too. 4th edition was very magic item heavy. They weren't super powerful necessarily, but there was a lot of them that had very slightly different abilities that could be used to tweak what your character was doing. And the amazing thing was that there was all there in your, in the builder. So the combination of those two tools for making the player's job a lot easier, making the DM's job a lot easier, was phenomenal. I have yet to see a game that has that much stuff. Or has the tools that are that robust. In the story stuff, the role-playing scenes, those are things that they require work, but they don't require mechanics necessarily. They don't require you to sit down and grind out what an appropriate bucket of hit points is for a certain level thing. The hardest stuff is if you want to do the prep beforehand and not just fudge it at the table, is going to be that the math components of those things. And those tools were just, man, amazing. I'm still sort of hopeful that some industrious soul will, have a pang of nostalgia and create something similar for use by the community, because I let my subscription lapse because I just wasn't using it, and later realized that I could not get back in. So I can't access those tools anymore. That doesn't stop me from playing 4th edition, but by comparison, it makes it a lot more work. It makes it as much work effectively as almost any other game, other than Pathfinder, because of the online resources. Pathfinder, you're making your character. There are even third-party websites that will post everything from every source book that Pathfinder, Paizo releases for Pathfinder, as well as third-party sources, and you can search that way. I can't remember what it's called, PSRD maybe. Anyway, so those are the resources. The only thing that was, I guess one thing I would mention, just because I had a really terrific session using it last night, it is not something that is role-playing specific or to a game specific, but the online tools or online map tools, like not map tools, like the online game tools, like Roll20, and Fantasy Battlegrounds, and whatever the new D&D thing is called. And I actually don't even know the functionality of that one yet, but it's geared towards 5th edition, so I don't really care. But for Roll20, for 5th edition D&D, the resources there are incredibly good. You have to pay to have some things as modules, like the Monster Manual and Volo's Guide to Monsters, but they're not unreasonably priced. And the ease that it brings with play. I wish what they had done is also included things like the player's handbook and whatnot, so you can get access to all the spells and all the races and whatnot to do. Because what that allows you to do is drag and drop in certain things. So like filling in your character's spells on your character sheet in Roll20, you can drag and drop in from the descriptions in there, and it'll fill in everything for you, which is awesome because you're spending less time filling in spreadsheets and more time actually just getting to the play. And Roll20 is, again, that's a specific feature for 5th edition D&D, but it's not published by them. It's licensed by them, by Wizards. But that specific tool itself, I've been using over the last 2 years now, I guess, and it's just awesome. I thoroughly love Roll20. It is an incredibly robust engine. I use it to run everything that I run now because I mean, all my games are online because I don't run games in person very often, but there are aspects of it that I think are actually superior to playing in person. In particular, the ease of controlling your creation of different interesting battlefields and creation of tokens, the use of dynamic lighting, which is just the coolest fucking thing. If you're not familiar with Roll20, what you can do is you can set it up to have it so that the lighting functions in relation to what lighting your characters have. So they can only see, like if your character has a light spell, say that radiates out 20 feet, they're going to only see what's 20 feet ahead of them. So it makes for a really great atmospheric game. Yeah, and I just, that's something that is, it adds a lot to the experience of the players. I'm looking forward to, in my next campaign, we're currently in the process of prepping for a 4th edition D&D game. I'm going to be making extensive use of that because it's so much fun. It's such a cool added little extra that makes players, worry about every step that they're taking. In the way that old school play where you would be mapping out on your graph paper, of what dungeon, sorry, as you make your way through the dungeon. So that is going to be, I think, a lot of fun. So anyway, so those are my thoughts on which RPG has the best resources, most useful resources, I should say. So tomorrow's question is, what are your essential tools for good gaming? Kind of dealt with that today, so I think I might return to RuneSlinger's alternate questions again for tomorrow, as we are heading down the home stretch here. There are only 5 days left in this month, so very soon our series will be coming to an end. But in any event, as always, if you have any questions, concerns, or comments regarding this video or my comments on the tools that I talked about today, please do not hesitate to leave a comment in the section below, and I will endeavor to return a response in a timely fashion. Otherwise, thank you very much for watching the video. And if you're watching this at the time of recording or around it, I hope the weekend, the last winding up weekends of August or the summer of 2017 is treating you well. And I will see you again tomorrow. Thanks.